Hello and welcome to BYJU'S IAS. Before we begin today's daily quiz, we have two announcements. First, let me wish everyone a very happy Dasera, and also let me remind you that on the account of the festival, the Hindu won't be publishing the newspaper tomorrow. So we won't be having the CNA and as well as the daily quiz for the 15th of October. Then two, we are happy to announce the next round of BYJU'S National Scholarship Test. This Sunday, on the 17th of October at 11 a.m., the BYJU'S National Scholarship Test will be conducted online, and IAS aspirants can take up the test to win attractive scholarships for our IAS courses. The registration for this scholarship test will close on the 16th of October, that is on Saturday, and this registration link shall be shared in the description box below. So with this, let's get started with the daily quiz for today. Let's look at the first question. Which of the following military exercises involve India and the United States of America? The Malabar, Yudh Abhyas, Vajra Prahar. All the three are correct. Option D is the right answer. See, the Malabar is a multilateral naval exercise which includes India, Japan, Australia, and the US. Yudh Abhyas is a joint military exercise between the Indian Army and the Army of the United States. And Vajra Prahar is a joint exercise between the Special Forces of India and US. Apart from these three, India and US are also involved in the COPE India exercise, which is a joint exercise between the two air forces. And they also take part in other multilateral exercises such as Red Flag and RIMPAC. This topic was taken up for discussion because we have a press release from the Ministry of Defence which makes a reference to exercise Yudh Abhyas, which is a joint military exercise between the Indian Army and the US Army. The 17th edition of this exercise is taking place at Alaska, and it is designed to promote interoperability and jointness in military operations between the two sides. Now let's look at the second question. Which of the following statements are correct? The Border Security Force, or BSF, is the designated border guarding force for all the international borders of India. It falls under the administrative control of Ministry of Defence. Recently, its jurisdiction has been set up to 10 kilometers from the international border. See, all the given statements are incorrect. So option D is the right answer, none of the above. The BSF is one of the Central Armed Police Forces, which is essentially a paramilitary force, and it falls under the administrative control of the Ministry of Home Affairs. Because border management and internal security, they fall under the domain of the Ministry of Home Affairs, and with regard to guarding and patrolling our international borders, the MHA implements a policy known as the One Border, One Force policy. This policy was brought in after the Kargil War so that one entire stretch of the international border can be guarded by one single force in order to promote better coordination. As per this policy, the BSF has been designated as the border guarding force for India's borders with Pakistan and Bangladesh only. So this is what makes the first and the second statements incorrect. The third statement is also incorrect because recently the jurisdiction of BSF has been set to 50 kilometers from the international border, not 10 kilometers. This topic has been taken up because of a related article in the Hindu. See, the mandate of the BSF is to guard and patrol our borders with Pakistan and Bangladesh. In this regard, the jurisdiction of BSF varied from state to state, and in certain states like Gujarat, its jurisdiction extended up to 80 kilometers from the international border. Whereas in states such as Punjab, Assam, West Bengal, etc., its jurisdiction was limited to 15 kilometers from the international border as per a previous notification which was issued under the BSF Act of 1968. The question of jurisdiction of such a Central Armed Police Force is very important from the point of center-state relations because if excessive jurisdiction is given to border guarding forces, it will interfere with the jurisdiction of the state security forces, which will end up raising issues of federalism. So in order to avoid stepping into the jurisdiction of the states, the MHA designates a set jurisdiction for border guarding forces like the BSF. See, the primary mandate of the BSF is to deal with border management challenges such as infiltration, illegal migration, organized crime, which includes trafficking and smuggling, and also to collect border level intelligence. So, to perform these tasks of border management, the border guarding forces are given a basic jurisdiction, a minimum jurisdiction from the international border, without trying to step into the domain of the state security forces. But earlier, with regard to the jurisdiction of BSF, it varied from state to state, and hence, to set a common jurisdiction and to enable the BSF to deal better with the threats such as drugs trafficking, arms trafficking, cattle smuggling, illegal migration, pumping of fake Indian currency notes, etc., which are particularly rampant along the borders with Punjab, Assam, and West Bengal, the BSF's jurisdiction has been set at a standard 50 kilometers in all states through a recent notification issued by the Home Ministry. This replaces the earlier notification of the MHA, and it also recognizes the jurisdiction of BSF in states such as Manipur, Mizoram, Tripura, Nagaland, and Meghalaya. Because in these northeastern states as well, the BSF performs the role of border management and as well as counterinsurgency in some cases. But since the jurisdiction of BSF has been extended in Punjab, Assam, and West Bengal, it has raised the federal question of stepping into states' jurisdictions, and hence, state governments like Punjab have expressed their unhappiness with the recent notification of the MHA. Let's look at the third question. The One Sun, One World, One Grid initiative was launched by which country? United States, Japan, Germany, India. The correct answer is option D, India. See, this initiative was launched by Prime Minister Modi in 2018 when India held the first summit of the International Solar Alliance. The International Solar Alliance was an ambitious renewable energy initiative proposed by India and France in 2015 during the Paris summit of the Climate Change Convention. Under the International Solar Alliance, India proposed to tap the solar potential of tropical countries in particular, and later the membership of ISA was extended beyond the tropical countries as well, and today it has emerged as a global solar alliance. Based on this, India announced the One Sun, One World, One Grid initiative in 2018 when the first summit of the International Solar Alliance took place. Under this ambitious initiative, India is planning to achieve regional and global grid connectivity in order to allow for the exchange of solar energy between friendly countries. India is hoping to execute this project in 3 different phases, wherein under phase 1, it seeks to connect its solar energy grids with South Asian countries and as well as with countries in West Asia and Southeast Asia. Then under phase 2, it plans to extend this interconnection to African countries as well, along with few other countries in the Indo-Pacific. Then under phase 3, India is hoping for global interconnectivity by seeking to connect with even European grids so that a truly global solar grid can be established. This initiative of India is also said to have strategic ambitions as it is set to rival China's One Belt, One Road initiative, and hence India is actively pursuing this clean and renewable energy initiative. This topic is in news because according to this press release from the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, India and the United Kingdom have held the Green Grids Initiative, which is a part of the One Sun, One World, One Grid program as a part of its focus on the Northwest Europe region. This leg of the project is focused on promoting cross-border trade of renewable electricity with particular focus on Northwestern Europe. The United Kingdom, which is hosting this year's Climate Change Summit, is working closely with India and the International Solar Alliance to launch the Green Grids Initiative as a part of India's One Sun, One World, One Grid program. Now let's look at the fourth question. The strategic Bandar Abbas port is located in which country? Pakistan, Iran, Afghanistan, Oman. The correct answer is option B, Iran. The Bandar Abbas port is located in Iran. Please look at this map. This is where the Bandar Abbas port is located. It is a strategic port in Iran, which is often in news because one, India is pursuing several connectivity projects with Iran, Russia, and Azerbaijan, such as the INSTC project, which is depicted in this map over here. As a part of the project, the Bandar Abbas port in Iran is a crucial component. INSTC stands for International North-South Transport Corridor, which is seeking to build a shorter route between India and Russia and as well as between India and Europe. Because the traditional route between India and Europe and Russia passes through the Arabian Sea, then crosses the Gulf of Aden and the Bab el-Mandeb Strait over here, enters the Red Sea, crosses the Suez Canal, and then reaches the Mediterranean Sea and navigates all along the Atlantic Ocean and then reaches Europe and Russia. This traditional sea route is a very long circuitous route, and hence India and Russia are working on a shorter route through Iran and Azerbaijan. This strategic port of Iran is also in news because it has become one of the routes for landlocked Afghanistan to smuggle drugs, and India happens to receive a few illegal consignments from the Bandar Abbas port, which is used by drug traffickers in the region, especially by those who are connected to the drug warlords of Afghanistan who produce the drugs, and to the drug trafficking networks and syndicates based out of Pakistan, which are backed by Pakistan's ISI. Now, this topic and the port of Bandar Abbas is in news because recently India seized its largest ever consignment of drugs, which was reportedly trafficked from Afghanistan to India via the Bandar Abbas port in Iran. Recently, the Directorate of Revenue Intelligence seized nearly 3 tons of heroin, which was of Afghan origin, and it was shipped from the Bandar Abbas port of Iran to the Mundra port in India. The seizure of such a large consignment is seen as a major national security threat because drug trafficking is very closely linked with money laundering and terror financing. Hence, India is working closely with Iran to discuss ways to fight drug trafficking that emanates from Afghanistan, which has recently fallen under the control of the Taliban. The Taliban and several Afghan warlords are known to raise their revenue by getting involved in drug production and drug trafficking. Now let's look at a practice question from the 2018 Prelims paper. Consider the following pairs. On the left, we have a set of traditions. On the right, we have the states that they reportedly originate from. So we need to check whether they are correctly matched. First, we have the Chapchar Kut festival matched with Mizoram. Second, we have the Kongyom Parba ballad matched with Manipur. And third, we have Tangta dance matched with Sikkim. The correct answer is option B, 1 and 2 only. Only the first two have been correctly matched. See, the Chapchar Kut festival is a traditional festival celebrated in Mizoram to mark the Jum season and Jum cultivation, where the crop stubble is burnt to clear the fields for the next cropping season. Then the Kongyum Parba ballad is from Manipur, which is a traditional musical art form that makes use of the drums or the dholaks. But the Tangta dance is not from Sikkim. This is also from Manipur, and it is a traditional martial art based dance form. Hence, the third pair is incorrectly matched and option B is the right answer. Now coming to the fact of the day, let's talk about exercise Mitra Shakti, which is a joint military exercise that is currently going on between India and Sri Lanka. See, Mitra Shakti is a joint military exercise between the Indian Army and the Sri Lankan Army, and currently the 8th edition of it is going on from the 4th of October to the 15th of October. As a part of this ongoing military exercise, the Indian Army Chief has visited Sri Lanka to promote the close military relations between the two countries. Exercise Mitra Shakti is held under the UN mandate, and it primarily focuses on UN peacekeeping operations because both India and Sri Lanka are troop contributing countries to the UN peacekeeping forces. The exercise also seeks to promote interoperability and jointness in the field of counter-terrorism and counter-insurgency, and this is one of the largest regional military exercises in South Asia. India has a history of military involvement with Sri Lanka, where India has supplied weapons to Sri Lankan forces, and today we even continue to provide training to Sri Lankan armed forces. Then back in 1987, when Sri Lanka was in the middle of the civil war, India mediated the India-Sri Lanka Peace Accord between the Sri Lankan government and the Tamil militant group LTTE. And in order to enforce the provisions of this accord, the Indian peacekeeping force was also deployed in Sri Lanka. So with this, let's conclude our discussion for today. Thanks for watching.